Einen wunderschönen guten Morgen aus Manila, einen Nachmittag von unserer Seite hier in Manila. Schön, dass sich schon einige eingefunden haben. Wir werden vielleicht noch die eine oder andere Minute warten, bis wir loslegen mit der Präsentation. In der Zwischenzeit, I'm gonna switch into English, and because all our participants, our speakers will be English speaking, so I'll switch over to that. We'll just get the presentation up on the screen. I hope you will see that in a minute as well. And so I'll be happy to be here with you. I'm very happy to host again a business opportunity seminar, a virtual business opportunity seminar with the Asian Development Bank here for Austrian companies. We have been doing that during the pandemic, and we all hope that maybe a physical visit to the Asian Development Bank will be possible again in the very near future. It's definitely one of the highlights of the programs that we have for our office here in Manila. I just, while we are waiting for the presentation to be up, and I see that something is moving, I just want to give you a short, some short housekeeping remarks, how we gonna play it, how it's gonna be happening throughout the webinar here. You probably all know it anyway. You have done many webinars before. So we will have presentations, 4 of them, by experts from the Asian Development Bank, which I will introduce to you. During the presentations, if there is something that you would like to know, questions that are coming up, please type them in the Q&A box that you see. So there is one, I will be monitoring them. I will have a look at them and see what is the burning questions that you have. So that all the questions that you will have will be answered either directly during the and after the presentations, or if they are very tricky, we cannot answer them right away. We will certainly get back to you after that. So there's not going to be one question unanswered and a question left behind, for sure not. We will also have on the last slide that you're going to see on the screen later on, what we will also have, and our friends at ADB wanted to share that with you. There's going to be a QR code for an up-to-date immediate feedback. So if there's something that you would like, feedback that would like to give right away, please scan the QR code. This QR code will also obviously be sent to you with our email later on after the webinar. The presentations that you will see from our experts from ADB, they will also be shared with you after the webinar, and the webinar is also recorded. So in case you want to go back to the one or the other slide, one or the other presentation, you will have a chance to do so. And we will also obviously share the link with you after the webinar in the email that you will be receiving. So for all those that signed up and could not join us today, greetings to you. You're certainly going to miss out on something, but we will be generous with you as well, and we'll send you the link to the recording and the presentations as well, since you joined up and signed up. So if I could ask my colleagues in Vienna to move on to 2 slides ahead, so you actually get to see the next slide, that is being the first slide of our presentation, in the sense that we're going to have our first speaker to take us away and give us a bit of an idea of what ADB, the Asian Development Bank, is doing, and how important it is also for Austrian companies to better understand the Asian Development Bank, to better understand the possibilities and opportunities that Asian Development Bank is providing for Austrian companies. So that would be Stéphane Bézadi. And I'll just give you a short introduction to Stéphane. Here he is. Hello. Good afternoon, Stéphane. Stéphane is the Senior Procurement Specialist, and he is part of the ADB's Procurement, Portfolio and Financial Management Department. And I'm sorry, Stefan, if I have to read that out, but it's a long name for the department, so I just read that out. He strategically supports infrastructure projects, design and procurement in East Asia, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific, and thus focusing on resilience, operation, maintenance, and low carbon technology. So actually all these technologies that are going to be very important in the future. And he also leads, and that's quite interesting, he also leads the innovative water and wastewater practices and technologies from the water service industry. And he joined ADB in 2017, and before that he was working for 15 years with private water companies. So he's been with ADB as long as I have been here in Manila. So we need to celebrate that together, Stefan, sometime. So here, yeah, Stefan, as you can see here, Stefan is not Jasper Peterson, obviously, but Stefan was very kind, flexible, and fast-moving to join or to step in for Jasper, who has another appointment that he could not get out of. So although it's not Jasper, it's Stefan, and now I give the word over to Stefan for the first introductory remarks. He will come back later again because he's such a great person that I will give it to him to you twice today. So count your blessings, everyone. And now, Stefan, it's for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christina. And thank you for this opportunity. It's always a pleasure for ADB to partner with Austria and to especially to your organization based in the Philippines for this very, I will say, friendly and in the same time efficient event, because it's a great opportunity for ADB to share updates on what we are doing and how you can contribute to that with us. So I said Christina, so Jasper cannot be with us today, but he's also telling you that these BOS events are very important for the works we are doing in procurement, because basically we are trying to prepare the best contract for our clients, developing member countries, but also for you contractors and consultants. So I will start with a few words. You know that we have usually a business opportunity fair and business opportunity events that are being held physically. So either in Manila or in other developing member countries. Since the COVID, so we have moved to a virtual delivery of this event. And we wish we will be able to resume soon to physical delivery, but up to the end of the year, we will be in this virtual mode. So the last physical event was held in 2019, and there were many participants from Austria, and Austrian firms were very active, because they are among the top firms and among the top players in terms of total value of consulting contract awarded per country. So of course, it's a small share, and I will give you more number after compared to other larger country, but in terms of innovation and innovative ideas, it's a very important contribution. So I don't have yet a date for the next physical event, but you can please check our ADB website. You can go to Work With Us tab, select ADB Business Opportunity Outreach page, and we should resume in the first months of 2023, we hope, to physical events. To give you a few numbers, as I said, so we have today representative of the consulting industry, and to share some figures, we have ADB a current portfolio of about 118 billions of dollars. So this is a total value of ongoing project, and it includes 104 billion of sovereign operation and also 14 billion of non-sovereign operation. So either the loan is under government guarantees or is without government guarantees. So we have two types of opportunities, as you may know. First of all, the ones that are managed by our borrowers. So in this case, they are responsible for recruitment of consultants. And in 2021, it represents about $700 million for this activity. But we have also opportunities that ADB is handling, and for that, it represents about 200 million for consulting service administered by ADB. So it represents about 2,700 contracts with individual consultants and about 250 contracts with firms. So you see, there are really a large number of opportunities on which you can bid. And I will give you later today more details on this, on how to access to these opportunities. So it's open to large contractors, but it's also open for smaller firms. And that's why we are really here today to give you more details on these opportunities, because you may be not always fully aware of the available opportunities that are changing very regularly. So just to finish, some information about the trends. We have more and more complex assignments, more and more association of firms compared to single entities. So it's also some information we'll give you. There are different ways to access to our opportunities, also by associating with other firms, national or internationals. Few words on the topics we'll address today. So we'll discuss about transport, water, and PPP. So transport is the largest sector in ADB portfolio, and Bertrand will give more details. We'll have also Christian, who will speak about water, and urban, which represent about 15% of the total portfolio. And finally, we'll have a presentation of PPP that are very important because they are helps to bring innovative approach, innovative practice from the private sector. So there is a growing demand in this sector. So we really invite you to listen to the today's event, and we hope we can have also some interaction and discussion later in the event. Thank you again for your participation, and please don't hesitate to ask a question and to share any points you want to share with us. It's really an interactive event that we want to have with you today. Thank you very much. Christina, back to you, and very happy to be here with you today.
Merci bien, Stéphane. C'était super. Merci comme introduction. So it was a good introduction. I will looking forward to talking or hearing from you later on as well. So you please all stay with us and to hear Stéphane again. When he mentioned the dates are not fixed yet, and to follow ADB's website or all the other communication channels, you can also follow our LinkedIn account. We will most certainly inform you and update you as soon as we have any dates from ADB about the next POF. So for sure we will. I'll take the megaphone out and I'll scream, so you will not be able to miss the next date, as I will be plastering you with information about that. So thank you so much, Stéphane. He already mentioned Christian as the next speaker, and here he is. Christian is okay, Christian, I'm always lost for words when I have to introduce, because I'm overflowing. There's so much I want to tell everyone about you. But most of all, I think Christian is, apart from being a fabulous professional, he is also a very, very kind person and extremely, extremely supportive also of Austrian companies. And I cannot underline that too much, the kind of support you have been given so far to Austrian companies who are interested in working with ADB. So apart from your professional excellences that you have many of, I think that's always something that really sets you apart. So I still want to give all the ones that have ADB. So, and whoever is in water, they have a great LinkedIn page that I really urge you to follow. So all the updates on the water sector group of ADB are there. Great events are happening there as well, so please sign up, link yourself on LinkedIn to that one. And he is actually trained an environmental engineer, and his work focuses
Johannes, ist das meine Verbindung oder reicht die Christina?
No, actually, I'm sorry. We're experiencing some internet difficulties in Manila. Christina, can you hear us? So your connection is fine, Christian. Everything is fine.
Shall I just take it away, or shall we wait
Christian,
for
if I may
Christina?
suggest, maybe you may start while Christina is back. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's do that. All right, a very good afternoon from Manila. It is my great pleasure to be with you today. Und ich wünsche allen Kollegen, die jetzt in Wien mit dabei sind, einen wunderschönen guten Morgen. Es freut mich, dass so viele Kollegen sich zum heutigen Webinar eingewählt haben. My name is Christian Walder. I'm a water supply and sanitation specialist, and I'm working with ADB's water sector group. In the next 10 to 15 minutes, I would like to talk about water security and resilience in Asia Pacific, and give you a quick overview about the water sector, about what we're doing in ADB in the water sector. And I'm Austrian by myself, and I think there is great expertise in the Austrian water sector when I think about the sanitary engineering, water supply sanitation, but also flood management, both in mountainous areas and low-lying areas, early warning systems, hydropower, but also integrated water resource management when thinking of the Danube catchment area. So these are all topics that are very important for us as an organization, but specifically also for our developing member countries across Asia and the Pacific. So I think there's a huge potential for us Austrian companies to join efforts and to participate in ADB projects and programs. When moving to the next slide, there are the 4 blocks I will cover in the next couple of minutes. I will kick off with a quite broad overview about water security in Asia Pacific, highlighting some sector challenges that we are facing. And then I think most interesting for you, I will give you an overview about ADB's water sector portfolio, some of the numbers, our active portfolio, as well as the portfolio of the last 11 years, so that they have an overview also which sectors we are investing in. And I will finish off with one of the recent initiatives that we are running to basically ADB's actions to support water resilience in Asia Pacific. So I'm currently working in the Sustainable Development and Climate Change Division, which is a kind of tech support department to our colleagues who are implementing and preparing the loans, but we're also responsible for capacity building and knowledge management. And this I will cover in the last 1 or 2 minutes. So when moving to the next slide, this is a kind of overview, a very quick overview about the sector challenges that we are facing across Asia and the Pacific. And I'm sure the points that I mentioned here are very familiar to you, and this is not a big surprise. Nevertheless, I want to highlight some of them, particularly the topic of climate change. We all know that climate change is being primarily felt through water, through an intensification of the water cycle. The Asia Pacific region accounts for 40% of disasters triggered by natural hazards, and more than 80% of the people they affect. So these are very strong numbers, and when having a look and when thinking about the devastating floods in Pakistan and other countries, this really highlights the impacts of climate change in the Asia Pacific region. So being more water resilient, becoming more water resilient is one of the key priorities of our developing member countries. Also, when thinking about food security, we all know that 70% of the water resources are consumed by the agricultural sector. So effectively and sustainably consuming water for irrigation, that's a very important point, another key challenge in our region. But then we're thinking about basic services in terms of water supply and sanitation. Still 500 million people are lacking access to basic drinking water services, and more than 1 billion people does not have access to sanitation services across Asia and the Pacific. And I think we all have those pictures in front of us, and I just attended a presentation from colleagues in Nepal earlier today, where they highlighted the challenges that they are facing in some of the smaller towns in Nepal. So there is still a long way to go to address and to bring water supply and sanitation services to people across Asia and the Pacific. Another point is wetlands destruction, also diversity loss, and the anti-big topic of water quality. Water quality is getting worse and worse. 80% of urban wastewater discharged into the environment without proper treatment. And additionally, when thinking about countries such as Bangladesh, saline intrusion and arsenic are also growing threats to groundwater quality. So lots of different challenges, and basically we within ADB are tackling the different challenges together with our clients and partners. The next slide gives you a very quick overview of water security in Asia and the Pacific. I don't want to spend too much time on this because this is actually one part of our key flagship publication, the Asian Water Development Outlook. And this gives a rating of water security in our region. You see the scale on the bottom left, from nascent, which is the lowest rating, to the model stages would be the highest rating. Just quickly highlighting 2 points. There is still one country in our region in the nascent stage, namely Afghanistan. And even the developed countries such as Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, they have not yet reached the model stage. They are still at stage 4. And there are many, you see the small yellow dots, there's many countries in the engaged stage. This means they have a still long way to go to become water secure and resilient. Water security is being assessed across 5 key dimensions. You see them on the top right in terms of rural household water security, urban household water security, economic water security. I don't want to spend too much time on it because when going to the next slide, you see the publication, the Asian Water Development Outlook. You can download this this publication on ADB website, and this gives really a very comprehensive overview about the water security in the Asia Pacific region. And there is also a dedicated publication on the methodology, because all the rating is based on a comprehensive methodology that has been developed with university partners basically across the region here from Sri Lanka, Australia, and Korea. When drilling down to the project level and when flipping to the next slide, you basically see that even when we design projects, we are facing challenges in terms of poor governance, low financial sustainability, low uptake of digital technologies and innovation, and weak human and institutional capacity. I think for colleagues on the call who are familiar, who are working in the water sector, they know that the water sector, I would assume, is one of the most complex sectors to work in, because so many different factors come into play when making water services work, when providing sustainable and safely managed water services. So the institutional environment is being necessary, the financial, then the technical capacity. There's so many features coming into the water sector to make a project work. And obviously we in ADB, we try to use our lending modalities in the most efficient way to address those project specific challenges. Some of them are listed here on this slide. When flipping to the next slide, you see some of the approaches that we are trying to promote within the Asian Development Bank. And again, without going into the details, we really try to mainstream and expand climate adaptation in our projects, programs, and policies. Together with our clients and partners, we try to strengthen the enabling environment and also to use different lending modalities and tools. Another point is streamlining processes and practices. And a very important point is also to use the latest innovation and digitalization to help our countries to get access to the latest technologies that are available in the water sector. But it's important to consider, obviously, that this must be tailored to the local needs and always to have in mind the sustainability of a project, so that, for example, people and utilities can also operate the systems that ADB is financing. We're also conducting upstream diagnostics, and one example I just showed you before is the Asian Water Development Outlook that gives really comprehensive assessment of water security in the region. When flipping to the next slide, I have a number of slides on the, okay, there is still more. This slide basically is ADB's vision going forward, because we are currently in the final stages of approving our water sector directional guideline, which is the kind of ADB's water strategy for the next 8 to 10 years to come. The document will be approved in the next couple of weeks, so in November, and you see the guiding principles in the outer circle and the focus areas for delivery in the inner circle. And again, without going into details, this means that all our projects going forward need to be aligned with those guiding principles. So we will effectively push projects that promote innovation and technological advancement, that promote inclusiveness and gender equality, that build resilience and adaptive capacity. So these are elements that need to go into our water project. So now going into some of the numbers of the water portfolio that we are running. So on this slide, you see the water sector portfolio from 2011 to 2022. And this is roughly $26.6 billion US. And this is directly supporting water security and resilience for more than 650 million people. And you also see the split of the different subsectors: hydropower, water-based, natural resource management, flood management, irrigation, agricultural drainage. And the biggest chunk still goes to water supply, sanitation, and wastewater management, more than 50%. But we also see a shift in the allocation of the portfolio. So the water supply, sanitation, wastewater is becoming slightly smaller, whereas the other subsectors in the water, which you see on the left-hand side, they are increasing, particularly flood risk management, irrigation, and agricultural drainage. So I think that's quite an important figure to keep in mind. And when you're going to the next slide, you see the allocation, the regional breakdown in terms of where we are providing our financial support. The biggest part of our water sector portfolio is still in South Asia, with close to 10 billion USD, followed by Central and West Asia, and then by Southeast Asia and East Asia. So you can see basically this is the regional breakdown we have within the Asian Development Bank, and there is currently still a strong focus on South Asia. But we also see a slight shift in the reallocation in the regions in recent years. When moving to the next slide, again, there are too many details there, but just to highlight that climate financing is one of the key priorities for the ADB going forward. On the top left, you see the climate financing in terms of adaptation and mitigation for 2020 and 2021. And you see the numbers have significantly increased, and they will increase also in the coming years, because ADB has made a very strong commitment in terms of climate financing until 2030. The bottom left, I mentioned this already, this is a diversification of the portfolio, with water supply and sanitation getting slightly smaller, but the other water subsectors increasing accordingly. When going to the next slide, you see basically the kind of the lending history and also the pipeline for 2022 by subsector. So there is one slide on the subsector and there is one slide on the regional departments. But you can see that the Asian Development Bank is lending between 2.5 and 3 billion USD per year in the water sector. And this is a constant number since a couple of years. And this number is also likely to increase. On the one hand, due to COVID, there is an increased awareness on the importance of wash services and also climate change, climate resilience in terms of increasing investments in flood risk management projects and other projects. When going to the next slide, you see the same numbers basically allocated per regional departments. So on the bottom, you see the Central and West regional department, and East Asia part stands for Pacific, South Asia, and Southeast Asia, and then Private Sector Operations Department. Basically, again, highlighting that South Asia takes the biggest portion of water investments per year. When going to the next slide, you see an overview of the current running water portfolio. So it's slightly lower. Before it was from 2011 to 2022. This is the active portfolio. Again, with a focus on water supply and sanitation, numbers are slightly lower, and a regional focus on South Asia. But as I said, the other sectors are getting more important. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I think there's particular expertise in Austria on all the subsectors that I mentioned here: hydropower, water resource management, flood management, irrigation, and agricultural drainage. So I really think that Austrian companies, Austrian firms can successfully participate in ADB projects and programs, particularly also in the water sector. I would like to close with one initiative that we are currently running, promoting. It's really ADB's action to support water resilience in Asia and the Pacific. And then I mentioned already that Asia and the Pacific is the most disaster-affected region in the world and home to more than 40% of global calamities and 84% of people they affect. So we have launched, on the one hand, the Water Resilience Hub. This is a prime capacity building and learning platform, and I would kindly invite you to join the Water Resilience Hub. You just have to enter WAP4R, hub4r at adb.org, and then you can join the hub and you can stay up to date what is happening. Sorry. And on the left-hand side, you see the mainstreaming water resilience in Asia and the Pacific. This is a guidance note, again, a publication that has been launched earlier today to highlight the importance of water resilience and the links between the water sector and climate change. All those materials can be downloaded on ADB website. And with this, when flipping to the next slide, I would like to close my presentation. I hope I stick roughly to the 15 minutes. In case you have any questions, please feel free to reach out anytime. You see my email address at the bottom here, but also there are different social media channels with LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook. So our social media team is very active, and please stay connected with the ADB Water team. So, herzlichen Dank für die Aufmerksamkeit und ich schicke Ihnen allen nochmal herzliche Grüße aus Manila. I think there is still a connectivity issue with Christina.
Yeah,
shall we directly flip over to Bertrand?
Yeah, that's what I was about to suggest. So
yeah.
Unfortunately, Christina seems to be frozen again, so I will miss the nice introduction from her. But let's shift to the transport part of this this morning session. So yeah, so good day to all. I will just briefly introduce myself. My name is Bertrand Goualou. Christina, you're back? No, you're not. Okay. So my name is Bertrand Goualou. I am a principal transport specialist in the Sustainable Development and Climate Change Department. So same department as Christian, but in the transport, I'm in the transport sector group. Next slide, please. So would like to jump right into it, and so let's talk about transport. This is how we are looking at the transport sector in ADB when supporting our developing member countries and private sector clients. Low carbon, safe, accessible, and affordable transport system and services. All this together with a flavor of efficiency, innovation, resilience. Climate, I think Christian in his presentation made it very clear that it is not just an increased focus, but maybe the strongest focus of ADB together with fighting poverty in the region. And of course, all these activities, support and projects are intended to be aligned with international agreements. We are also looking at the sustainability of operation and assets. So all this is very ambitious, and the ambition is what we are going to see and discuss in the next slides. Next slide, please. Now, transport investment by subsector, lending volume, and trends. So as Stefan mentioned in the introduction, transport is the largest sector in terms of lending volume for ADB, together with energy, depending on the year. But transport is approximately 1/4 of ADB's sovereign lending volume every year. The share of each subsector is fluctuating depending on the year. This comes from the fact that we are often financing very large projects. We are more and more seeing projects that are worth more than $1 billion, sometimes even 2 or 3, depending on the infrastructure that are being financed. So, of course, such projects have a huge impact depending on the year on the share of the said subsector given the year. As you can also see, all told, road projects are now down below 50%, and it's no coincidence. So the intention is clearly to scale up urban transport and railway projects. We can also see here the changes in the portfolio breakdown since the early 90s, and again, the increasing share of urban transport and rail. Next slide, please. On this slide, so you can see that this trend is continued here in this near future pipeline. Next slide. Here we see the overarching targets of ADB Strategy 2030, and it is to build a prosperous, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable Asia and the Pacific. And it has been mentioned to you in the earlier presentation, but ADB is clearly getting away from pure infrastructure finance and favors more integrated solutions with high value addition. We have here the 7 operational priorities of ADB strategy: poverty reduction, gender, climate change, livable cities, rural development and food security, governance, and the last one is regional cooperation and integration. The transport sector contributes to all of the 7 operational priorities, and we really see transport as an enabler of development. Other than operational priorities, the strategy is looking at value additions through finance, knowledge, and partnership, including with the private sector. And lastly, promoting innovative technologies as well as delivering integrating solutions are strong guiding principle. I would again underscore that the climate agenda and the international agreement are placed at the center of our strategy, the Paris Agreement and the Sustainable Development Goals. There is clearly an increased focus on supporting and developing climate-aligned projects and resilient infrastructure. So the main takeaway for you here is certainly on value addition and innovative technologies. We know the firms and the contractor from Austria are well advanced in all of these sectors. And in case this is a competitive advantage that you have in the sector, so it's really something that you want to make sure is part of the proposal and bids and clearly put forward. Next slide, please. I'm also pleased to mention that ADB and the government of Austria are working very closely and are on the long-term partnership on the rail subsector. Of course, the partnership builds on the success and experience of the Austrian Federal Railways and its excellent track records in terms of profitability and performance. You have here on the screen a recent workshop that has been organized in Graz with jointly with the Technical University of Graz. And here on the picture, you have not only this fabulous background, Art Deco and Gustav Klimt inspired type of decoration, but also a representative and government official from 7 developing member ADB developing member countries, learning about rail asset management and getting familiar with the technology and efficiency proposed by the Austrian Federal Railways and related firms. Next slide, please. So on this slide and the next, we'll give you an indication of the type of project being implemented and upcoming. And I also would like to play 2 short project videos. They are both less than 3 minutes but that will give you an indication of the type of integrated project ADB is willing to support these days. Before going to the project, I would like to mention again that complete information on all ADB finance and ADB supported project is available on the ADB website. You can have it project by project, but also by country. And I think my colleagues will give more detail on this in the other presentation. Next slide, please. And so the first video will show you the Peshawar Sustainable Bus Rapid Transit Corridor that is operational since 2020. And you will see everything about the project in the video. So Johannes, please, I think it's time to play the first video. Thank you.
हयाताबाद से मैं यहाँ पे जब आता था लोकल ट्रांसपोर्ट में तो कम से कम 1 घंटा 1.5 घंटा लग जाता था। ये ज़ू पेशावर की बसेस जो हैं ये फुली एयर कंडीशन है, प्लस इसमें हीटर भी लगे हुए हैं। इसके अलावा वाईफाई की सहूलत भी अवेलेबल है और चार्जिंग पोर्ट भी आपके लिए अवेलेबल है बसेस में।
I was harassed by this taxi driver. You feel safe when you think that you are every time protected and cameras watching you.
Previous transport systems में ये impossible था हमारे लिए उसको ऑपरेट करना, क्योंकि उसमें तो व्हीलचेयर का सवाल ही पैदा नहीं होता कि आप व्हीलचेयर के साथ उसमें चढ़ सकते थे। तो जहाँ तक BRT की बात है, क्रॉस डिसेबिलिटी के लिए यूनिवर्सली एक्सेसिबल है। हम इसमें बगैर किसी के मदद लिए हुए हम इसमें रोज़ाना सफ़र कर सकते हैं।
Nowadays, if you ask anybody in Peshawar, and the Peshawar BRT is something they will be very proud of talking about it. It creates a lot of quality footpaths. It has new energy efficient street lights. It provides much clean passenger vehicles, and it generates a much nicer environment. In terms of urban mobility, the system encourages people from all walks of the life to use the public transport, and it's really changing and transforming the city.
And we're clearly talking about both urban and transport development in this. Then I'm not sure we have the slide on the screen. That's back. Thank you. so well organized. So now we are shifting from Central West to South Asia. Sorry. And as you can see, clear focus on urban transport, rail, still supporting some road project, and we also have some program to develop regional integration. We'll take another, on the next slide, we'll see another example of, we call it mega size project. It's in the National Capital Region in India, so the Delhi region, and you can see the number on the screen. So those are the kind of project that's really transformative, not at the city level only, but at the regional scale. So please, Johannes, could you please play the second video?
The National Capital Region, or NCR, is the largest urban agglomeration in India and centered around India's capital city, New Delhi, and encompasses several surrounding districts. With a total population of more than 46 million that is spread over an area of over 58,000 square kilometers, NCR generates nearly 8% of India's GDP. However, most of the socio-economic development of NCR has been centered around Delhi, which accounts for 37% of the total population of NCR, while covering less than 5% of the NCR area. With Delhi projected to be the most populous city in the world in 2028, there will be tremendous pressure on its infrastructure that will cost 12% of Delhi's GDP in terms of air pollution, fatalities, wasted fuel, and reduced productivity. Thus, there is a need to shift to polycentric developmental approach where surrounding parts within NCR are able to absorb this pressure from Delhi. The Functional Plan on Transport for NCR 2032 has identified 8 regional rapid transit systems, RRTS, corridors to connect the towns in NCR with high-speed rail-based commuter transit services. 3 regional rapid transit system corridors, Delhi Meerut, Delhi Alwar, and Delhi Panipat, will be developed under Phase 1, with Sarai Kale Khan as the common station. The first corridor connecting Delhi to Meerut will span a distance of 82 kilometers and have world-class transport infrastructure supporting average speeds of 100 kilometers per hour. It is expected to reduce the travel time from 3.5 hours to about 1 hour. Asian Development Bank will co-finance the capital expenditure and envisages a 3-pronged outcome from the project: commissioning the Delhi-Meerut RRTS corridor, strengthening the institutional capacity of NCRTC, improving mobility and economic opportunities for women and differently abled. ADB will provide finance plus support that will include building multimodal integrated station, technical assistance for exploring transit-oriented development, and selection of a shadow operator. The project will have well-lit and CCTV cameras, supervised coaches, and public areas in all stations, as well as patrolling by security guards to ensure safety of women. Further, mobility, visual, and hearing assistive aids will be provided to 1,000 differently abled persons. Overall, the project is expected to have a substantial demonstration effect and pave the way for integrated mobility and sustainable development of NCR.
Familiar with the Delhi region in India, those projects are badly needed, and it's now under implementation. Next slide. So we're shifting to Southeast Asia. You can see that similar kind of projects are being supported with maybe one of the largest transport portfolio in the Philippines right now. We are also looking, and maybe it was not that obvious from the project I've selected so far, but strong support on the development of mobility projects throughout the different region, and with some pilots being developed in Southeast Asia as well. Next slide. And so East Asia for ADB is China and Mongolia. So you have on the screen the kind of support that is being provided in the last decade. A lot of support to urban transport in China, developing some BRT system and a lot of mobility And as you certainly know, e-mobility is being led in Asia and maybe in the world by China. It's more than 90% of the vehicle being in Asia right now. Next slide. So the transport assistant in the Pacific region is slightly different because the issues and the needs are different there compared to the density that we have in South and Southeast Asia, for instance. And you can see that ADB is supporting some maritime initiative, also aviation. Next slide. So here I'm summarizing the key messages, but I keep it short because I can see that we are running behind schedule, but I summarize here all the key things that I mentioned to you in this presentation. So in a nutshell, we have an increased focus on climate innovation, knowledge, and integrated solution. I try to explain this, but it's really something that you need to keep in mind each time you're trying to get involved in an ADB finance project. You will find this dimension. So we've talked a lot about rail and urban mobility, but road projects are still being supported, maybe in a different way, but it's still there. And yeah, so again, we know that the Australian firms and contractors have strong experience in this domain, so we are always pleased to see consortium being part of the competition. And again, do not hesitate to demonstrate knowledge and innovation in all the proposal and bids that you are submitting, from the planning stage, but also to the contract for implementation or supply of systems as well. Those are the type of things that we are expecting, because we know that our developing member countries are looking at this dimension very closely. So I'll stop here. I'm happy to expand on any of these topics and answer questions at the end of the session. Now I'm turning it back to Christina if she's connected. Christina, are you back with us?
Well, I'm certainly listening. I can hear you. I'm trying to turn off. I'm not turning on my camera. I hope I hear you. I had such a great introduction prepared for you, Bertrand. Amazing. Oh. Yeah. Can I do it afterwards? Or I really, I was like, oh yeah, now Bertrand is coming and I can talk him up. I can tell our audience all the amazing experience that he had, and I'll do it now because I think people should know who you are, that you had 20 years of experience in the sector, and which is urban transport and railway. So it's 20 years, and your experience actually covers the whole expertise, all the stages of a project cycle. And that you joined ADB in 2010. And apart from working in ADB, you also worked in Europe, Asia, Middle East, and Africa. So, ladies and gentlemen listening, this was Bertrand. I would have loved to do it at the beginning and give him the floor at the beginning. So he certainly is a top-notch expert in ADB when it comes to transport and rail, as you could see from his presentation. So thank you so much, Bertrand, for being with us. Merci beaucoup. I owe you one for taking it over right away, and I'll be happy to see you later on for the Q&A, and if we still have time, or otherwise I'll go and come to you at ADB, and I'll be happy to chat some more there. Thank you so much, Bertrand. From the way you react, smiling, my internet connection at least seems to be okay when talking.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear, and thank you for the kind of introduction as a conclusion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bertrand. So I will take the opportunity when my internet is still working to head over to our next speaker, Ichiro Aoki. He will be talking about something that we haven't talked about in a BOS before, and this is going to be about PPP, private-public partnerships, and what ADB is doing in terms of this financing model. And Ichiro is the manager at ADB of a trust fund called Asia Pacific Project Preparation Facility. And this comes out of ADB's Office of Public-Private Partnership. And through this facility, he offers technical assistance to the governments of ADB's developing member countries for them to establish PPP. And that's also to enable environment and to structure commercially feasible PPP projects. And Ichiro, just like Bertrand before, he joined ADB in 2010 as an investment specialist in private sector operations department. So as being from Japan, he also holds an MBA from the Kellogg School of Management in Illinois, USA, and a bachelor degree in economics from the Keio University in Tokyo, Japan. So I turn off my voice at that point. I hand over to Ichiro, and thank you so much, Ichiro, and we're looking forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina, for the introduction. And good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ichiro Aoki, and I'm from Office of Public-Private Partnership of ADB. In the next 10 minutes, I will be presenting you how ADB is assisting our DMC governments in promoting PPP and what particular activities we are offering to them. So let's begin with the first slide. So in ADB, we are providing different type of support at each stage of PPP development cycle. And we are categorizing them in, roughly speaking, 3 stages: upstream, midstream, and downstream. And then upstream incorporates 2 different pillars of operation: advocacy and capacity development, and enabling environment. As ADB is assisting those developing countries, sometimes those countries do not have environment to develop and foster PPP. So in these cases, we begin our support with groundwork. So what we do in upstream stage is like raising awareness on PPP, what it is, what it can do, and how it is implemented. And we are providing this support through capacity development or staff training for government officers. And we will also work jointly with the government on building pipeline of potential PPP projects, conduct initial screening of those pipeline projects, and identify pilot projects. Those are included in advocacy and capacity development support. Simultaneously, we are providing a policy reform type of support. So if a country doesn't have any PPP framework, we provide assistance to establish it from the beginning. Or if they have the existing PPP framework, but there are some key bottleneck issues, we conduct policy scan and provide assistance to rectify those bottleneck issues to make PPP framework actionable and operational. Other than that, we also assist the government in establishing PPP center as a key driver of a PPP program in these countries. For those upstream support, what we are providing as our services is knowledge activities, including training or technical assistance. So as I mentioned earlier, for advocacy and capacity development, we conduct staff training through sort of like a PPP training certificate program or knowledge events or outreach events, and raise awareness on PPP, and also provide assistance in PPP development. Legal support, this is provided through our technical assistance. And we appoint lawyers or technical consultants to provide these technical assistance support. Once we completed the groundwork, we proceed to the next level of assistance, which is midstream project preparation. We are calling it specifically transaction advisory services. So what it does is that we assist our governments, client governments, in conducting public tender to award concessional right to private partners. To do so, we first approach potential investors to seek their appetite, and also organize request for proposal. Once we received proposal, we evaluate those proposals and recommend key commercial terms on concession agreement to the government. And we assist the government in negotiating those agreements, and finally award concession to private partners. Those services are provided through what is called the transaction advisory services, or TAS. So ADB staff is directly engaged as an advisor to the client government, and provide various advices on project preparation, including a public tender for concession award. We also appoint consultants to complement expertise that ADB doesn't have in-house. Those expertise include, like, for example, legal, technical, or safeguard. And by formulating a team with those external experts, ADB's advisory team offers assistance to the government to deliver a commercially feasible project to the market. And then once concession is awarded to private partner, now is the time to actually start construction activities, and that requires initial investment, that is project financing. This is a downstream stage. And our colleagues from lending operations, PSOD, or regional departments, provide long-term debt financing solutions, including local currency debt or hard currency debt. And not only ADB's direct lending, we catalyze commercial financing from commercial lenders. Catalyzation of private capital is one of the key objectives of PPP. So we are promoting a multiplier effect through our lending operations at the downstream stage. And in most cases, we provide private sector loans, commercial loans to project company, but sometimes these commercial loans are combined with public sector loans as blended finance. Like, for example, capital expenditures are supported by commercial loans from PSOD, but availability payment to be made by the government may be supported by sovereign financing from regional department. So those are how we materialize what is called one ADB, like a holistic approach across ADB, and providing a one-stop solution to the client. So very roughly, this is how we approach PPP development at each cycle of its life cycle. So next slide, please. This diagram summarizes the sequences of ADB's assistance. So beginning from number 1, we first approach our DMC government to conduct a consultation through formulation of country partnership strategy or country programming. And through those dialogues, if we identify opportunities for infrastructure development, and then if a government prefers to develop these infrastructures through sovereign sector, public sector financing, then going to number 2, we provide a sovereign financing standalone. However, if a government has preference to develop those infrastructures through PPP, then we go to number 3. We provide upstream PPP interventions or transaction advisory services to structure and design PPP for this particular infrastructure project. And then once we structure and design PPP project, number 4, non-sovereign financing may be provided by our colleagues from PSOD, or this would catalyze a private sector financing, which is number 5. Sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, sovereign financing is blended with a non-sovereign financing, which is number 6, to provide a comprehensive support to the client government. And not only ADB, on the left side of these diagrams, there are donor-funded facilities. So ADB manages various trust funds contributed by our donor countries. And AP3F, or Asia Pacific Project Preparation Facility, which I am managing, is one of those trust funds. they mobilize resources and complement ADB's bank-wide operations. In our case, AP3F provides technical assistance support to DMC governments to complement ADB's bank-wide PPP operations. Next slide, please. These are key value addition of ADB's PPP advisory services. So there are 5 points, but in summary, our value addition and strengths is pretty much our knowledge and relationship with DMC governments. Based on our long-standing and good relationship with the government, we are pretty much familiar with PPP commercial practice in each country, or overall PPP landscape, key bottleneck issues to materialize PPP, or a legal framework, how it is structured, and to what direction the government is heading to in terms of developing infrastructure for further economic growth. So with those deep and thorough understanding and knowledge on each country's PPP, we provide PPP advisory services from upstream to downstream. And not only that, we utilize our knowledge of financing market for PPP in Asia Pacific and structure sound and acceptable financing structure for commercial lenders so that they can participate in the downstream project financing. Lastly, we ensure that there are transparency, fairness, and governance in the bid process and reduce political risk. So those are value addition of ADB. Next slide, please. So in this slide, we listed some key opportunities, business opportunities for private partners in PPP projects. At the upstream stage, we normally appoint consultants for our technical assistance. So business opportunities in this stage would be like technical experts, legal experts, financial modeler, or E&S consultants. For those are consulting firms and individuals to work with ADB. So those are key opportunities at upstream. At the midstream, we provide transaction advisory services. So just like an upstream stage, we also appoint certain technical consultants, experts. So those are, once again, key business opportunities for private partners. But not only that, we approach potential bidders to ask their appetite for the project we advise. So investor to the project is another key role for private partner. So those are the key business opportunities at midstream. When we proceed to the downstream, opportunities are here for commercial lenders or investors. And also, we need a consultant to conduct a detailed due diligence for the project. And for the project to be constructed and operated, we need EPC contractors and O&M contractors. So those are contracts that can be awarded to private partners. So very roughly speaking, those are key business opportunities in PPP projects for private partners. Next slide, please. So this is a map of our existing portfolio projects. As you can see, we have a very large operations in Philippines and Uzbekistan. These are two countries where PPP is very active. And not only those two countries, we are also finding a lot of opportunities in Timor-Leste and also providing upstream support in Vietnam, Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, Palau, those countries. We are trying to promote more projects in the Pacific and East Asia. And those are where we are prioritizing our resources at the moment. But as you can see on this map, we have projects in across Asia and the Pacific, and we are still actively trying to explore and identify new opportunities. So given the time limitation, this is the end of my presentation. But if you have any questions, probably I can answer that at the later Q&A session or please feel free to reach out to me at any time at those contact details. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ichiro. That was very insightful and gives us a good overview of the PPP projects and the initiatives of the Asian Development Bank in this sector. Thank you so very much. Thank you also for taking time and presenting that to our audience. As I said, it's the first time, so it was a premiere, and I hope we will have a lot of follow-up questions coming from the audience and from the participants, also maybe later on through email. So thank you so very much, Ichiro. It was a pleasure and an honor. Thank you. And now I'm still talking without a picture, so with tech support we will manage that we include a picture of mine on the recording, so a standing picture. Otherwise, yeah, my voice will have to do for now. And I will right away hand over to Stefan again for the presentation on actually how to do it and how are you doing business with ADB and how does the ADB procurement system work. So here, really listen closely. Here we go into the technicalities. We are learning how to be successful and what you should think of, what you should absolutely not do when working or trying to work for ADB. And so from the off, without a picture, off to you, Stefan. Again, thank you so very much for the upcoming presentation. And for everybody else, listen closely. This is important. So thank you so much. I don't know if it's just me or we don't hear you, Stefan. But it could be me, you know, with my technical problems today. That could
no, it's not you. I forget to unmute myself. Sorry for that. So I was saying, probably for the time, I have about 20 minutes, I guess, to give some time to our Q&A. So I will try to make this presentation as practical as possible. So next slide, please. So I will give a brief of what are the top supplier and in ADB project, what is our procurement framework, and I will focus also on what are the bidding strategy and how to find opportunities. Next slide, please. Okay, so I propose to go quickly on this one because it was already presented and introduced by my colleagues on the sector side. So you can see here the range of the countries in which you can find opportunities. So about 68 members, 49 regional and non-regional. And as it was explained, also opportunities from sovereign project, but also non-sovereign project. Next slide, please. So you have here a repartition of the portfolio with the largest part in South Asia, as you can see, and also followed closely by Central and West Asia. You can see transport, which is the largest part, but also some growing sectors. Like health sector, for example, which is growing rapidly. It's not shown on this slide, but it's growing rapidly. And also water and urban sector. Next slide, please. So this is the non-sovereign portfolio. Next slide. Next slide, please. Voilà. So to give you an idea of the volume, as I explained in my introduction, so we manage about 7,000 contracts every year for about 10 billion of US dollar. So either for works, consulting service, but also for goods and other related services as training or support to our developing member countries. Next slide, please. So in terms of volume, so it's in line with what you saw before, but just something what I want to highlight that it's changing also rapidly. And you see that well, you have transport and energy, but health sector, as I said, is growing. It's the one you see in blue on the right of the slide. And you have education, which is also growing. Of course, the impact of the COVID-19 crisis is here, and it has changed the portfolio repartition. Next slide, please. So you have here the top suppliers by member states. So you can see that, for example, on consulting services or on goods and works, the countries represented are different. But it's also changing, and it's really evolving according the years. And sorry, next slide, previous slide, please. Yeah, thank you. So you can see that for just to show for 2021, so in terms of consulting, so consulting service, you have India, Indonesia, Japan, France, and Australia. I don't know the ranking of Austria, but it's in the 2028. I will show you more detailed figure on that after. Thank you. Next slide, please. So you are here the top suppliers for goods. Next slide, please. For works, with Larsen & Toubro, Siemens, China Railway, Acciona, NCC Limited. Next slide, please. Voilà, and you have here the top suppliers for consulting services. Next slide, please. Voilà, so from Austria, you can see, so from 2017 to 2021, the top contractor suppliers, so Vamed Engineering, GmbH, Plaza Interior Exports, so in the health sector and in the transport sector for a total of about $40 million. Next slide. And you can see here the top consultants. So from Austria, again, about 20 million. So again, in health, water and urban sector, transport, and again, water and urban sector that was presented by Christian, and that is growing a lot. Next slide, please. So you can find all this data on our ADB procurement dashboard, where you can see really the repartition by countries. You can find a lot of very interesting data in terms of contract repartition by your type of procurements, but also by your sector. Next slide. Alors, of course, when you work with us, you work with developing member countries, as I will show you, because it's with them that you will have most of the time the contract. But we have an overview, so it means it's also the guarantee for you to work with internationally accepted procedures, and also to have an availability of funds that is assured. So meaning that the risk related to transparency, fairness, and integrity of the procurement process are much reduced, thanks to our oversight. Next slide, please. So an important slide to show you that there are different ways to enter in our procurement cycle, very practically. So you can see on the right of the slide how the project is being generated. So with country partnership strategy, with the concept of the project, with preparation, approval stage, where there are a lot of opportunities to enter in the project. So because we hire individual consultants, consulting firm for this preparation. So this is also a very good opportunity to act on the project. And after, of course, when there is an implementation phase, so with a bidding stage, expression where consultants and contractors can express interest and bids to the different projects. Also in the evaluation, after implementation, there are also a lot of opportunities. And we have also a very active role during contract management. So we are not only acting at the bidding stage, but also we are following up the contract up to contract management. Next slide, please. So you can see here the different type of works we are doing. Just to mention that in terms of consulting services, there are also growing opportunities for supervision of works, supervision especially related to health and safety. So it's really an area where we are trying to be more and more active and to implement new practices. And also in terms of surveys, training, events management, we are also giving some opportunities, but the largest one are for civil works, so really construction of roads, railway, bridge, schools, power plant, and etc. All the standard infrastructures. Next slide, please. Next slide. So we have a revised framework that is implementing now. It's not really new anymore. It's implemented since 2017, and it's really giving a strong importance to quality and value for money. So it's really introducing new way of working with contractor and consultant and our DMCs countries, giving more flexibility and also developing a fit for purpose approach according to the country. Next slide, please. So we have an improved quality. So it's something I want to highlight that we don't have only evaluation criteria, for instance, based on low cost factors, but we are more and more introducing quality aspect, like using merit point criteria in the evaluation to really give a lot of importance to quality and to sustainability. We have developed recently a new guidance note for sustainability in our project, and it's really there are a lot of opportunities to contribute to reduce climate impact and also to develop a higher quality, so meaning to introduce technology and to introduce innovation in the project. Next slide, please. So you can see here the two principles I was explaining, so quality and value for money. Next slide. Voilà. Regarding, as I said, so you will have most of the time a contract with an executing agency. Some of the opportunities we are developing and managing ourselves, but most of the time the contractual relation will be with the executing agency of the government. Next slide. This is here the different type of procurement method we are using. So we are really favorizing open competitive bidding most of the time. So it's our preferred method of contracting, of procuring, and after developing as much as possible international or national competitions. You can see we have a different other way of procuring contracts, but most of the time we'll use open competitive bidding. Next slide, please. As I explained, so we have revised and very strong anti-corruption policy and guidelines, and you're invited to report any anomalies that you can find in our project, because we have really a regular continual improvement process on that. Next slide, please. Next slide. Voilà. So thank you. You can see here, as I explained, from planning to contracting, there are a lot of different steps that you can find on our also on our website, where you can see how the project is evolving and where we are having oversight on the project. So it's really all the steps on which we are giving approval, and we are following up how the project is being implemented. Next slide. So you can see here the different key points on the way we procure goods and works. So we have user guidance, we have standard bidding documents to be able to adapt to the different markets. We have international or national advertisements. As I said, we have also different options for bidding. One stage, one envelope, one stage, two envelope, two stage. I mean, it's really a fit for purpose framework. And we are introducing, as I said, merit point criteria based scoring system in order to value more and more qualitative and sustainability aspects in the bid received. Next slide, please. So very practically, you can see that there are still many administrative or many avoidable mistakes that are made when applying to our bids and to our opportunities. So you can see here a list of those. So we really invite you to bring as much attention to that when replying to bids and to opportunities, because of course it will penalize you in the process. So we really invite you to have exchange with the project officer to clarify any points. It's really the best way to do that. So we have a process in order to ensure that comments are received in a fair manner, and that any updates are given to all the interested bidders. So we really invite you to contact us for that. Next slide, please. Next slide. So consulting service, as you know, we are hiring consulting firm and individual consultants, but also staff consultants that we are hiring on our budget. Next slide. So you can see here the standard process to hire consultants from term of reference that are a key point in our recruitment process, up to advertisement, shortlisting, tendering, evaluation, negotiation, and contract management. Next slide, please. You can see here again the different type of procurement method to recruit firm. Most of the time here again we will favorize quality and cost-based selection. Next slide, please. We are introducing a new method to recruit consultants that is reducing the time to recruit consultants, and that we are now piloting. So we really invite you to have a look on our website, and you can find more explanation on that. But the target is really to reduce the recruitment time. Again, all the opportunities are advertised on our CMS, so I will very practically show you how to access that. It's very useful tool. You can also have alerts and alarms, and it's really a lot of guidance notes and helping documents that are helping you on how to give us the best offer as possible. Next slide, please. So one key message that I would like to deliver today is really take time to deliver the best offer possible by understanding the project and the client, and really trying to bring value in the way you will address the project, in what you will bring to the project, how you understand the specific context, how you understand the challenge of the project, and also by bringing innovative approach, innovative technology, and seeking clarification, as I said, if needed, because sometimes not everything is clear, and you may want to engage with us or with the clients or with the developing member countries to better understand the project. So as you see, we have a lot of sectors experts in ADB that can really help you to better understand the project and to give us the best reply possible. Next slide, please. So debriefing is also possible. So it means you can also try to understand why your bid has not been successful, and to improve for the next time. So it's another advice. If you have not been selected once for a project, we really invite you to continue your effort, and sometimes it takes time also for you to understand how to work with us. So we really invite you to persevere and not to abandon for the first time, but sometimes after maybe a few times you will be successful. Next slide, please. So practically, to finish, so as I said, we have a very well developed website. We are having these opportunities to exchange as much as possible. So you can go on our business center, work with us. Next slide, please. You can see all the different steps of the project that I explained before: country partnership strategy, procurement plan, that is very important document on which all the future procurement is planned and is informed in advance. And you can see a lot of opportunities, invitation for pre-qualification, for bids, consulting service, recruitment notice, and also pre-qualification that has been done, and contracts awarded. So it's also another source of information. You can also engage with the contract awarded with the companies that have been awarded, maybe to propose some partnership, or to propose your technology, or the capacity you can bring. So it's really there are a lot of ways to engage on our opportunities. Next slide, please. Procurement and outreach. So we have also here you can find all the information related to the business opportunities outreach. So we have about 50 events similar as today per year. So we are really very active on this aspect. So I'm leading this with a team, and you can find all the coming information on this event in our website. Next slide, please. Voilà, the same page where you can find all the requested information. Next slide. Here, some details where you can see some example of projects with country, with sector, and with type. Next slide. Voilà, an example of notification and alerts that you can receive by clicking on the relevant button. Next slide, please. Also, you can have some information about what we are doing, what we have done, and what we are continuing to do to support developing member countries to fight COVID-19 pandemic. So, of course, it was more active in the past months, but there are still some opportunities to build and to strengthen the health systems and to continue the vaccination in different countries. Next slide, please. And finally, to give some time for the Q&A, you can find here some links where you can see all the different platforms on which we are active, like LinkedIn, but we are also active on Facebook. And if you have not joined yet, we have an ADB Supplier Network and ADB Business Center in LinkedIn, where you can find a lot of updates on that. Thank you very much for your time today. And Christina, over to you.
Thank you so much, Stefan. You were my Superman for today, because you were not just filling in for one person, you were filling in for two people. So you were really stretching yourself, and but thank you so very much. It was really an amazing and fast and fast oversight, and very comprehensive to see how ADB is conducting procurement, and especially how Austrian companies can take advantage of that. I know I told everyone who was our expert speakers that I will not go over time, because we took up a lot of your time of our experts from ADB. So what I would suggest at that point, actually, to our participants to send us again the questions. We have noted down the questions in the chat. We will get back to you on that one. If you still have questions, all the speakers were so kind to give also their email address. So either you can contact them directly, or you come to us, manila@wk.at. You see that on the last slide anyway. and get in touch with us on your questions. I really would like our speakers to get their well-deserved evening. I know people in ADB work long hours, but let's not make them work much longer than that. So again, to everyone who was listening from Austria, thank you so much for participating. To our experts who were with us, Stefan, Christian, Bertrand, Ijiro, thank you for taking so much of your time, sharing your expertise, telling us about the projects that you're working on and what the ADB's mission is. And I take one thing away from Stefan, what he said: perseverance, durchhalten, probieren, again and again. We are here in Manila to support you. ADB is very much open to talk to you and support you with all your questions. So please do take advantage of that. It's an excellent opportunity to be working in this region with ADB. So at that point, to everyone in Austria, have a good day ahead. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a warm one. To everyone here in Manila, have a great evening. Try not to get upset and be patient with the traffic when going home. It's getting close to Christmas here already. So please, again, thank you so very much. Everyone who have participated will get email from us with all further information and the recording and everything. And at that point, maraming salamat, merci beaucoup, thank you very much, vielen herzlichen Dank an alle. And I hope to be able to see you in person sometime very soon at ADB or back home in Vienna. So thank you so much. And especially thanks to our tech support, Johannes in Vienna today. You did an amazing job. And I'll just turn on my camera for one goodbye wave. Hope it works and I'm not going to be blocked in something. Maybe it works. It does. So for the time being, goodbye to everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you.